Welcome back to Three Springs Native Nursery. We missed a week on recording thanks to Blizzard Elsa that we had this last weekend. Thankfully, we were all able to make it through all right. And while I was bopping around in the skid loader for who knows how many hours, I came up with what I wanted to talk about with you guys this week. And that is ecosystem services and how important it is to not only restore, but also protect unique wetlands such as fen systems, just like the one that I have here at our property. Now, if you don't know what a fen is, I forgive you. I didn't know what a fen was up until a couple years ago myself either. But when we stop to take a look and consider wetlands on a whole, there's two very different sides of the spectrum. On one side, you have fens, while on the other side, you have swamps and bogs. Now, your fens, they are fed by water systems that have fresh oxygen in them, just like this one behind me here. 5,000 gallons a day of fresh oxygenated water that comes out at 40 to 50 degrees is dumping into my pond system, which overflows into a creek system behind me. This keeps this entire area much more aerobic, meaning with air. And in that situation, you will find many more plants being able to grow in those environments. Now, not only that, will you have all the bugs and critters, and as we've explored, the brook stickleback. Nature's not without its tongue twisters, let's put it that way. But between all the different little microinvertebrates, there's tons of life in these fen wetland systems. On the other side of the spectrum, you have the bogs and the swamps. Now, these areas are much more acidic because they're in anaerobic environments, meaning without oxygen. So all of the water that's contained in these systems is either runoff water or rainwater itself that's captured within the system, but very little fresh oxygen is introduced. When you think of plant diversity, the swamps and bogs often have much more unique plants in them because of their ability to grow within a harsh environment that is so anaerobic. When it comes to our aerobic fen wetland systems, there's an explosion of the quantity of diversity because all throughout the system are many different microclimates that allow different adaptations or plants with different adaptations to find their niche. So enough with the terminology lesson. Let's hop into why we should preserve these fen wetlands and do so looking at the case of our state bird, the robin. Now, as we prepared for Blizzard Elsa here in Wisconsin this last weekend, I couldn't tell you how many times I ran across Facebook posts advocating for ensuring that you had your bird feeders full and topped off for all of our feathered friends who might end up being stressed during this situation of having massive amounts of snow fall all across their hunting grounds. From the robins to the vireos, catbirds and red-winged blackbirds and many other migratory birds that we have, they're going to continue experiencing these stressful situations as we continue experiencing a changing climate. We're going to continue having springs that start to show up abnormally early, followed by abnormally large snowstorms. The birds don't know the difference as to when March 21st is and when spring arrives. They just know the patterns of nature. And as those patterns warm up and as their ecosystems continue to propel them towards arriving here earlier, we're going to see more and more times where these birds are going to be faced with harsh situations like we did last weekend. So it's important to protect habitats like fens because they keep all of this ground thawed and open and ready for the birds when they need. When we have heavy snowfalls like this, it's not rare to come in here at 8 o'clock in the morning and see flocks of birds piled in here just looking for their morning breakfast. But can you blame them? Where else did they have to go? God and nature created these ecosystems for the birds, for these moments. There's many other positive ecosystem functions that are performed by Fens. Absolutely. But this is one that is super obvious, super blatant, that when the times get tough, this is the refuge. The thing that I worry about most with these fen wetland ecosystems is that they're often overseen. They're not recognized as being important aspects on our landscape. They're usually wedged between fields, and all too often, when the farms sell out and the developers come in, these areas get paved over, or bulldozed over, covered up, closed off. Then what are our migratory birds left to do but to seek out seeds as a last resort? Why are we focusing on last resorts when we got the first line of defense? All we have to do is get out there and find these locations and advocate for them to be preserved. You're not going to be making an impact just for robins or vireos or catbirds or any of the number of migratory birds that depend on more than just seeds, and that's upwards of 90% of all migratory birds. But you're going to be making a difference for the ecosystem as a whole, because you're going to be preserving the ecosystem functions on a larger scale that these fen wetlands have to offer. I can go into that in much greater detail, but I'm not going to here in this video. I'll save that for another topic along the way. There's research that tells us that we have less than 1% of our old growth forests here in Wisconsin. Just like down in Illinois, in their prairie system, they have less than 1% of their old remnant prairies. Ecosystems are fading, and they're feeling the brunt of our development. I don't know if there's actual research on fen wetland systems and just how many are left in Wisconsin compared to, let's say, 50 or 100 years ago. But I know that if we get out there and start actively looking and searching for areas like this and advocating for them to be protected just as much as any other park area may, we stand a chance to be able to preserve one of the most diverse and ecologically beneficial ecosystems that we can possibly save here in Wisconsin. Today, I just wanted to bring up an observation that I had been noticing over the last 2 years when we encounter some of these heavy snowstorms as we approach spring. Our birds need options, and this is the very first that they'll go to. If we can preserve areas like this, well, then we don't need to fill our bird feeders as much. You're making a larger impact by giving them everything that they need: food, water, and shelter. So see what you can do. Get out there, adventure around, find some springs, find some freshwater wetland systems, and explore all the life that's there year-round. You'll be amazed at what you can find. That's all for this time. We'll catch you next week. Welcome to spring. Welcome to the symphony of life.